Welcome back, Fiat fans. So this footage you're about to see was actually recorded over a year ago, and I don't really have any excuse other than life gets in the way. But I'm going to be doing some things with the blue Bertone here pretty soon, so I thought it was a good idea to get the video footage of the Vick's header install all edited up and posted for you guys. So let's get to it.
Alright, so since the Vick's header doesn't work with the AC unit, I just kind of tied the AC lines up out of the way. Hopefully, maybe in the future I can make use of them again, but you know, who knows. And I've got the new gaskets on, so the only thing left to do is just throw her on there. I've got to snake the headers up from underneath up onto the studs. Alright, I wanted you guys to see the orientation of the headers, how I'm having to get them up in there. I basically had to put the end of the headers forward towards the front of the car, and I'm kind of tilting them up, and then as I lift it up into the engine bay, I'm going to be like bringing the headers back. And I also had to jack the car up quite a bit more than what I had it just on these ramps. Hopefully my jack's not going to be in the way of turning the headers. That might actually be a problem. I don't know. We're gonna find out. Yeah, the jack is in the way, so we're gonna have to come up with something a little bit more creative.
I was able to move the jack over to the lug on the transmission where the factory exhaust bracket hangs off of, and that gave me enough room to maneuver the headers around.
Alright, I think I got it where I can ease the car back down. Now I have an issue where I kind of need to fight it past the water pump pipe and the alternator. It doesn't want to clear the alternator over here to move over. Alright, so I was finally able to get the thing on there. I managed to scoot the alternator back enough. I didn't have to take it all the way out, but just loosening it up and tilting it as far back as I could allowed me to snake this tube past and get on the stud over there. And I also had to take these 3 studs right here back out because there was really just no way to scoot this over the studs, you know, with everything else kind of in the way. So I kind of had it hanging off just the 2 outer studs first and then screwed these studs back in. And as you can see, I already got the new nuts on the new studs on the outside. And I can't remember if I mentioned it to you earlier, but you can actually go to bookautoworks.com to get these studs if you need them yourself. The studs have a nice black oxide finish on them, and the stud kit also comes with these super thick washers. The washers are zinc plated and yellow chromate, so they're corrosion resistant as well. And the kit also comes with these conical copper clad nuts. The little conical thing right here keeps them from backing off, and the copper keeps them from seizing up. So I know I'm tooting my own horn here, but I think I've put together a pretty good exhaust stud kit. Well, anyway, now I need to get the alternator back to its home and finish buttoning everything else up. I'm just really glad that it looks like the drilling and tapping work that I did over here is actually gonna work. Fingers crossed. Alright, so here's a problem with this header. The rear cover for the alternator doesn't actually fit. It's hitting the header like right here. So that's a bummer. Don't really know what I'm going to do with that. Guess I'm going to have to figure out some sort of different cover plate to go on the back of the alternator. Leaves things a bit exposed here. So, I don't know. Interesting. You're just going to have to see how that works out, I guess. I'd probably fabricate a cover plate for this maybe that's a little bit skinnier on this side over here. That gives enough clearance for the header, but you know, I don't know. You'll have to play with that. All right, so I think I'm about ready to start putting the intake back together, but there's something I want to do first. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but I was having a lot of heat soaking issues with this car. The fuel rail on this guy would get so hot that it would actually be boiling the fuel and the car would just sputter and die. Now, some of that probably was from the exhaust leak that was, you know, probably just spewing hot gases right on the intake here. But I want to help mitigating future issues, so I got this stuff. This is a heat wrap that I'm going to put around the injectors and the fuel rail. Alright, so I got it all wrapped up. Of course I had to cut certain areas out so that it would fit around and whatnot. And it looks a bit hacky, but I don't know. It's I guess I'll find out if it works or not. I got this stuff off of Amazon, and you know, it's pretty easy to use. It's a bit itchy, and cutting it kind of produced a lot of these little strings. I have a lot of these to clean up now, but I'll leave a link for it down in the description below in case you guys want to check it out too. Yeah, see what I mean about the strings? Update from the future, that was kind of a waste of time, but hey, it's fun to experiment, right? All right, so I'm discovering some more interesting things about this header. The factory length of this middle stud right here is completely unnecessary. It's not used. So I'm gonna replace it with one of my shorter studs. Another interesting thing is take a look at this stud right here where the intake bolts to. Now let's take a look at the intake and the original factory manifold. You can see the factory manifold helps support the intake, and that support isn't included on this header. So really the intake is only going to be like half supported on this stud. Now they did provide support on these studs down here, so that's good, but I don't know how that's going to work out. I guess we're just going to try it and see. All right, so I got the lower part of the intake on, and it was kind of fiddly getting everything bolted in. A couple more quirks I found with this header here is that on the middle studs, they're really close to the tubes of the header, so I had to shave down the washers on either one of these sides. Not like completely clip washer style, but you know, just kind of shave a flat spot in the side, and then the washers were able to go on easy. This side right here, I was able to get a socket on, no problem, but this side is too close to the dang tube to get a socket on. So I actually had to use the crow's foot here. Now the studs up on this side over here, on either side of the intake, they went on no problem. And even though it wasn't fully supported by the header, or the flange of the header I should say, it actually worked out pretty good. The washer kind of caught the edge of it, and it caught the edge of the intake manifold, and it cinched up nice. And there was quite a few awkward angles in there, so my electric ratchet came in real handy in getting things buttoned up. But of course I had to follow that up with the torque wrench here. These manifold studs are only supposed to be torqued to 18 foot-pounds. It's not a lot, so you gotta be kind of precise with it. So now what's left is getting the injectors and the fuel rail hooked back up and getting the upper manifold bolted on. All right, upper intake manifold on. It's all buttoned up. I hope I have all the tubes and everything reconnected. So now we gotta work on putting the rest of the exhaust on, the muffler. Now to hang the Vick's performance muffler, we gotta put this bracket up, take off the factory muffler hangers, and this bolts in where that was. Oh, and I also have a new O2 sensor I need to put on. And guess where I got the O2 sensor? Ah, you know it, bookautoworks.com. Okay, I want to know what Sister Humper measured this. Look at this right here. It's rubbing, the muffler is rubbing over here. The bracket for the muffler hanger, hopefully you can see this, is like ½ an inch too long. And also, if you take a look at the holes that were drilled, if you line them up to the holes on the muffler, the bracket's way out of alignment. Now, I don't know, maybe you're supposed to, you know, have the springs pulling the muffler this way. I mean, that kind of makes sense because that's how it slips onto the header, but geez. And additionally, look at the size of the holes in the hanger. Why is it that big? You need like gigantic washers for this thing. These are the little screws that go through those holes. All right, so I got the muffler bracket actually bolted in now. It turns out that you have to pull out the heat shielding, which kind of sucks. I like heat shielding, so, you know, I don't know about that, but. And fortunately, I was able to find some washers that would actually work and fill in those gaping holes so I could actually bolt it in. The other thing I had to do was I had to drill an extra hole right up here because the existing hole is actually like over here somewhere. This hole on this side, that one works pretty good. But yeah, I drilled an extra hole and I used the springs from the factory muffler, just doubled them up so that they would actually reach, because that drops down pretty far, you can see. But yeah, it's in. It kind of rubs over here, which sucks a little bit, but you know, things seems pretty solid. So now I need to put this stuff back here and also fix the stuff in the trunk, get all that back sorted out, and then we can actually hear how it sounds.
Overall, I'm pretty happy with this exhaust system. And yeah, there's a few little things you have to work out here and there, but it's also pretty affordable, especially when you can compare it to some other exhaust systems out there. And also, you know, at this point, there's just not much out there for the X19, so I don't know, maybe this is it. hit the thumbs and the subscribes and the bells and what's-its to make the algorithm happy for me, pretty please. And thanks for watching. Catch you next time.